Mike.
Mhm.
My job is to introduce the esteemed people being featured in this section. So Tia Marie from WXOX Louisville is an entrepreneur and community advocate and radio personality who is dedicating her life to helping fellow entrepreneurs, highlighting extraordinary acts by ordinary people, and empowering her listeners. She is a radio host at WXOX's Soul Glow Radio and the Tia Marie Show, which Louisville Magazine has recognized as Best of Louisville Independent Radio Show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Having been with Art X FM since the beginning, Tia has grown to be named one of the top 100 influencers in Louisville. She has also been a personality on Magic 101.3 FM and iHeartRadio, Real 93.1 FM, and she recently produced the international broadcast for Breonna Taylor's special simulcast by over 70 radio stations nationwide. According to her colleagues at WXOX, they told me she isn't stopping anytime soon. So I'm really looking forward to Tia's interview with Chuck D. Chuck D is probably the person who needs the least introduction here today. An activist, culture builder, and thought leader, he co-founded the musical groups Public Enemy and more recently the supergroup Prophets of Rage, and is one of the most pivotal figures in hip hop history. Public Enemy raised the profile of hip hop when it combined sound-rich recordings with radical message, conscience, and controversy. For many, their music turned hip hop into a palatable world to be experienced, and that includes me. The New York Times named Public Enemy's music to their list of the 25 most significant albums of last century. This groundbreaking work established Chuck D as one of the most intelligent, articulate spokesmen for the Black community. Public Enemy just recently released a new album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down. In addition to his extensive touring career and critical acclaim for music and commercial success, Chuck D is a sought-after public speaker, record label producer, TV commentator, TV host, author, collaborator in film, sports broadcast, and sports music and radio. Chuck D is a member of the Pacifica radio community, where he hosts the weekly show, And You Don't Stop, which we air here at KHY in Iowa, and I really love that show. Pacifica Network is proud to present Chuck D. We truly appreciate, and I say this from the heart, we truly appreciate his taking precious time to connect with us here in community radio. Chuck really did move heaven and earth to be here with us today. And having witnessed this incredibly difficult process of scheduling, which made today possible while he's in the middle of a CD release, I now comprehend the depth and uniqueness of Chuck's loyalty and commitment to us in grassroots media. We're really grateful for that, Chuck. Tia, I hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Ursula, and to the Pacifica Network for making this conversation possible. This is just an amazing experience already, and we ain't even got started yet, so. Mr. Chuck D, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm thankful for this time, Tia, to talk to you. I also got a shout out to Ursula. Ursula pulled my coattail when I spoke out there in Iowa quite a few years ago, and she said, "I think you can, be a benchmark to the rest of the Pacifica outlets," and she has been instrumental and a key to getting the And You Don't Stop radio show across Pacifica and all the global community stations across the world. So we thank her highly for our rare and unique show, which produces 2 hours every week of different aspects of hip hop. It's just not a mixed show, spinning records back to back. It actually is like made in segments, sort of like 60 minutes. And I got the idea directly from Brian Gumbel's Inside Sports, when he actually hosted something, and then he had a whole bunch of correspondence and components in there. But that came from 60 Minutes. So we feel that we're the utmost comprehensive curation service to rap music and hip hop across the world. And we try to represent, and we've broken at least 10,000 artists in 10 years. So we're thankful for Ursula leading the gamut on us forward in that. And I thank you for this time going back and forth with you, Tia. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I have to admit, when I first learned that I was going to be having a conversation with you, I was starstruck. And that doesn't happen to me. I've met a lot of stars in my life. I've got a great selfie with Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh that I have to send you one day. But it honestly took me a while to figure out what I wanted to say to you. I had to truly recognize who I was speaking with, not just the leader of the revolutionary hip hop group Public Enemy, and not just the legendary MC Chuck D, one of the greatest hip hop lyricists of all times, but Carlton Rittenhauer, a super aware, grown ass Black man who been told us what was going on out here in these streets, been warning us about the system, been telling us to fight the powers that be. I mean, how do you begin a conversation with a man like that?
That's easy. I don't run I listen more than I talk. I watch more than I talk. People publicly know Chuck D because when Chuck D is actually on a camera or whatever, and you got a microphone in your face and you ask questions that might be a little edgy, or you might ask questions that things you don't know, then it's my age, stage, and place to fill that time up with a concise answer. But most of the time, I like to, I like to play the OG position. I like old uncle position. I sit, I watch, I listen, and then somebody might get an answer of 3 words. But then that's what my father was great at. My uncles was good at. And that's our place in society, to be able to fill and connect the dots, fill the spaces, not lead young energy, but counsel, advise young energy, be there as a consigliere. Listen, yo, you're doing the right thing. Almost like when you look at your community on training wheels, a lot of the ways you just guide along it. You ain't gonna get on the bike and it doesn't behoove you to outrace the bike because you know how to go faster than the bike. You got to guide it until it learns how to, stay balanced. And that was my role, and is my role as the arts and the artist in the arts, because I knew that being a culturalist and an ambassador to the music and the genre, it's about making it respected just like everything else is. And the music actually opens up so many doors. Culture unites us as our human energy and spirit. And as governments like to split people up, like to split up humans, categorize us, break this over there, break this over there, come up with, like, when you fill out a form, you got to fill out all these aspects of your characteristics, but not your character. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to use the art form to answer to that. And thankfully, I was also joined by people with like-minded that wanted to go in that direction.
I love that. Perfect analogies. And while we're in the conversation about the youth, let's throw it back and talk some about what made Chuck D Chuck D. You came in from New York in the 70s, 80s.
I was born in 1960. Mm-hmm. So my first 10 years of my life, I experienced the turbulent 1960s, which was a turning point and a crossroads in society, not only in the world, but especially in the United States of America. At 5 years old, I remember looking at remnants on television and newspaper that civil rights was going to be given to Black people. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that we now have the right to be treated civil, or that we are now considered civil along with society? And these questions you couldn't help but to ask as a young shorty coming up, in the 1960s. Look at it this way: from your fellow Louisville, king Muhammad Ali. Yeah. I first started following Muhammad Ali. We called him Cassius Clay.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, Cassius Clay goes to the Nation of Islam, and now we got to change, saying, "Ooh, Cassius Clay is fighting into Muhammad Ali." So right there was a teaching moment.
Yeah.
That he said, "I'm going to at least make a big change by just changing my name," which made us ask questions. This is the same decade where there's a war going on, and I saw my uncle being drafted coming out of high school to go fight a war in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, right out of high school. The day he got out of high school, he got that letter from the Marines, walked up to the steps, dropped the letter. He read it, went in the backyard, dropped it. I looked at the paper and I was like, wow, and I could read at 7. You've been John Robinson, you've been drafted to United States Marine to report in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina on route. And I didn't know what Lejeune or route, but I'm saying generally I knew what the letter said, on route to Southeast Asia, Vietnam. So that's why I wrote later on in Black Steel and Our Chaos, I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it. It said they were suckers. It was from my uncle getting his draft papers at 18 years old, straight out of high school, 1967 in June. So we was cognizant to all these things going on. There's a war going on. In the 2nd grade, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated on April 4th. I'm 7 going on 8 years old. So it wasn't like I wasn't born yet. It wasn't like I was a cognizant. Then 2 months later, Robert Kennedy, who's running for president, right? With what? Who? Richard Nixon, who we knew that was a vice president with Eisenhower. So he was a no-go. Hubert Humphrey. And then you had George Wallace, which is a straight out racist at that time before he found God or something. And so we as kids was like, wow, they running for president, but they killed Robert Kennedy in June. So we were like, I mean, how could you not see this as a young person and not have it seep in it? And I had parents who were able to interpret, see the world, explain it to me. They were young parents. I was in the Black Panthers lunch program when I visited my grandmother in Harlem. My mother and father were Harlem Nights. A lot of activity was happening in New York at that time. So there was a lot of energy that was going on as a young person. How can you not question that? Later on, moving out from Queens into Long Island, even further that, because we was in what they call Black enclaves, black towns in the middle of white environments. And in this Black town, people got there and there was a lot of people coming there from different places. So you already had that territorial friction going on, but we all learned, we asked questions, and we all had a younger parenthood that was going on that wasn't afraid to speak truth to power when they was in their 30s. So that energy already transferred down. So coming out of the 60s into the 70s, I remember that clearly as a bell. That fast forward helped me in the 80s during R&B. You know what R&B is, right, Tia? Reagan and Bush.
Oh.
Reagan and Bush came in the 80s, and it was a wipeout squad.
Yeah.
I mean, once in the 70s in my neighborhood, Roosevelt, Long Island, grew up down the street from Eddie and Charlie Murphy, Wow. You could not find guns and the weed. I guess older people smoke weed if they could find it, but that was it. By the late 70s and by the early 80s, you had guns, crack, and a whole bunch of excess money around.
Yeah.
And that led to the devastation of Black communities that previously had their thing together, now was looking at itself being decimated by Ronald Reagan's war on drugs. So so that's a background that actually could go further and further. We could meander on, but the point is, it's not about me, but that's where I come from. And that's why it stuck to me so long to say that you can learn things at an early age and it sticks to you. So when people say, well, young people ain't trying to hear that and all that, I'll be like, well, what's your track record on that? Because I've heard otherwise.
I believe that, there is still that link between the older generation and the youth. And it is important to take ownership over that responsibility of guiding them. So a lot of people are dying to learn what brought you into college radio, and, who empowered you to use that platform with your voice?
Well, number one, I was going to university at 78, 1979, 80, 81. I was part of Spectrum City as Hank Shockley, Keith Shockley in Long Island, one of the strongest mobile DJing units of the area and of the time. And I was the lead MC. So when I was going to college, I wanted to be able to take what we were doing in mixtapes and take it to the radio station and give it away for free by being on the air. And in college, I met Bill Stephanie. I met Dr. Dre, who later on known from Yo MTV Raps, Harry Allen, And we learned at college and was able to put everything that we was doing in the streets on college radio. So we were service people to hip hop and rap music. We were curators. And the music that just started out in records in 1979 when I was a sophomore was rap records. First, before that, Tia, it was inconceivable on how there ever could be one because nobody, I mean, rap and hip hop was an all 3-hour party thing. So when somebody said they're going to make a rap record, I was like, how are they going to put a party on one record? You know, how long would that record be? But when King Tim the Third came out with the Fatback Band and did King Tim the Third, and then later on Rappers Delight, I was like, whoa, I get it now. They just doing a portion of the party. And so we wanted to just play rap records and explain them. And so wanting to become syndicated radio jocks in 1984 and 85, you know, they thought we were crazy. They were like, rap syndicate, what the hell? And so we went and made records. Records was a lesser dream. Records was like not a big deal because I had to categorize 3 rooms of records. You know, so we knew what records was. We wasn't making records, but we knew that how big a deal is a record when you got to list and categorize 3 rooms of records. And I know, you know, you being at the radio station, you know, you see record rooms. You know, you see less record rooms now. You see the old records in record rooms, and today they have them all in a computer file if they really on top of their thing. But back then you had to list and shelve and categorize records. So our mobile DJ unit, I was the categorizer. And this is why categorizing records from A to Z don't work because you got more M's than you have Z's. So here you always gonna keep moving the records because all of a sudden we got records and we filled up the M's and we filled up the B's, you know? So I used to number them 1 to 3,000 and just make sure that I had the shelf space. So
wow.
That's what got us started. We wanted to curate the art form. I wanted to be able to do for rap music and hip hop what those guys were doing in rock. Because rock always had its act together. Even to this day, rock got its act together.
It is true.
And hip hop is always trying to scratch and climb. So I've always wanted to bring this overview to it. Like, listen, don't think like when people say, oh, hip hop's the most listened music in the world. And I'll be like, well, where's your passport? Since you're telling me about the world, let me see where you've been. And well, you know what I mean. I said, I know exactly what you mean. It might be the most listened, but the most well taken care of genre is still that rock world. And we are rock and roll. Because when people say, well, Public Enemy got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they say rap shouldn't get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I tell them, I said, well, they're like, they're not rock. And I said, well, we the roll, baby.
Okay, I love that.
But that shuts them right up to you. They don't know what to say after that. I said,
yeah.
We not rock. All right, we do re-rock in the house, but we the roll.
Love it.
Now, can you roll with that? And they'd be like, it's smart.
I know. You got to respect that. Gotta respect that. One of our attendees wants to know if it's true that Public Enemy got their start on public radio.
We got our start at WBAU on my radio broadcast at Adelphi University, 90.3. And so it was college radio. And it was, we had like 100 watts and we could get to the Nassau County area, a little bit in the Queens. And our first interviews was young guys by the name of Run DMC and Beastie Boys. They were all young guys.
That is just so powerful. I was telling you, it's so exciting just to hear those stories. I mean, Public Enemy came to us during the golden age of hip hop, representing for the Black community. You've always been a voice for the community, cleverly stating at one time that rap music is the invisible TV that Black America never had. Tell us about what it felt like when you realized that the agenda had changed for hip hop, when you realized that the socially conscious hip hop rappers were being cut off of mainstream media platforms.
Well, I wouldn't say they were cut off. I would say to you quite clearly that rap music always changes. It comes out of the party element. It ain't the wildest music that we've ever had. And we've had wilder times and wilder people and wilder musics and wilder topics.
Yeah.
So it's not about that. You know, it's just that the music changes. I would say that when they found out the music was valuable and they found out maybe in the conscious audience that there was a focus on who was making them sign the contract, I think it was like, well, we might have to go this route because it seemed like gangster is the way to go in finance. And like I said, well, and if you want to get into dynamic social study, Black folks wasn't taught to love ourselves in the United States of America. We were taught to kind of like disrespect and hate ourselves and kind of like be unclear about our history and who we were. So obviously you throw all that in a box, it's going to have some friction in it. And it's going to result to terms that later on were explained as black on black crime, whatever that means, right? But
Right.
if you looking at somebody cheek to jaw, that's all you see. You ain't got nothing, they ain't got nothing, they got what you want, you got what they want, there's going to be some crime that's going to come out of that.
Yeah.
Right? Criminal is criminal for a bunch of different reasons, but it is what it is. So out of that, you know, there was maybe an initiative by a company to say, well, if they're conscious and they seeing me in a target, we making more threading on what's in the atmosphere, and they ain't looking at us as being an enemy or anything. They talking about beef with themselves or throwing up sets or gangs and stuff like that. So they keeping it at that level. Because the more conscious they get, they start recognizing it ain't them, it's us. So I think with that combined with the fact that black on black crime, quote, energy was already out there, so it was really familiar, as opposed to brother, the N-word being something that's really familiar. It goes from pool room language into the middle of the street language into what? Popular mainstream culture. Not to say you can't get rid of the N-word, but it has its place in very small, dark circles. And then if you get into the definition of where it comes from, it makes you kind of look at that word like whether you should use it on somebody you love. You have to really be a comedian to make people feel good about it. And a lot of people ain't got those skills. So that's why it's not wise to even use it, because most people can't use it right. And like most people in the United States of America can't use the English language right, period. Don't care who they are.
That's true.
You know,
it's very complicated.
They stumble on the English language, no matter who you are. So it's the English language coming from England. So, you know, in the United States of America, it's always been a bastardized, broken language. And you happen to use it wrong, words can actually build and they can destroy. They can start or stop wars. So we have to be careful with the words. That's why in rap music, words are everything.
Yeah.
You know, even if you happen to mumble them out or have auto-tune, it's still words that's going to be in the middle of that. And that's why even this year, Young Energy spoke a lot of truth to power. You know, I was just checking out videos by the baby, and they got, you know, everybody's realizing that you're not going to dictate the marketplace right about now when times and people are tight. What you're going to do is reflect certain attitudes in the marketplace. But that's what artists do. If they feel like this is where people are at, they're going to try to reach the people where they're at. And this year especially, people have felt forward with themselves. Younger energy. And notice I didn't say youth, because I never use youth as an excuse. Because let's say if somebody's 16 years old and they tell me, well, I'm young and I don't know. I say, well, you ain't 4. And the next time you think that you young, then ask that 11-year-old if you young. And that 11-year-old gonna stare you down and say, yo, you old. You put 5 years on them. So, youth is relative. But one thing we know that's not youth, if you over 18 years old, you're not youth. You young adults. And this is a country that will send you to war at 18 years old, just like my uncle went to Vietnam at 18, right?
Yeah.
They kind of want you to go to 41 without no hopes, dreams, stay in the house with your mama, you know, have no aspiration whatsoever, don't vote, don't do any of the grown-up stuff. but you know what, they have the prison industrial complex waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Or they have what they call, you know, one-sided policing, which means that you're being patrolled from the outside looking in, not policing being part of the community.
Right.
That schism has happened over the last 45 to 50 years. It's like my father would tell me in Harlem, and it's a little different too back in the day because it's a urban setting where you got buildings and stuff like that in Harlem. But he said police walked the beat. They knew everybody's family. They gave you a warning. They gave you a few warnings, or they was going to go on that tail too. But they said they knew everybody, so therefore their knowledge and understanding of the community made them automatically accountable. Everybody knew where they was at. Some of them, and many of them, lived in the community, although they lived in different blocks or whatever. And so there was an accountability factor. My dad would say, yeah, but not just the thing that happened since the 80s or the 70s where they start patrolling in tanks on the outside looking in. You don't know this person's name. They don't know who you are. You don't know where they live. They know where you live. You know, that's a different thing. That's back to like KRS-One was saying about overseer.
Yeah.
An officer and an overseer. That's like overseeing you, patrolling you. And police are to protect and serve property owners. But if you're in a situation, you rent and you don't own it, you know, you're not given the opportunity to understand that you should own. Truly, nobody should own the earth. But if they say that they own, then you should own too, or at least share in the owning of it and understand what it means. You'll see a different attitude. But we don't own the cities that we live in. We throw it in the area and say, well, you got to abide. And at the end of the day, the ones that's protected are the property owners. Where police might roll on you more if you're an arsonist than if you're a assailant. You know what I'm saying? So with that in mind, a lot of the education that we used to get passed down just in our families, cousin, relatives, and all that, because there's been fragments and the trickling down, now people think that they got to get the education through a school system, or they got to get the education through culture. And culture can only truncate it but so much. A 3-minute song or video is going to bring you a headline, a little spark to it. They're going to teach you or learn you, as they say. And schools are going to actually be able to be operating from their curriculum. There's a lot of waste in the curriculum, not meaning that we shouldn't learn it. The thing about why scholarship is important and never could sleep on scholarship is because scholars, true scholars, got to read all the ugly-ish. Got to read the stuff they don't want to read.
Yeah.
Got to read the lies, study the lies, and then study the truth, weigh them and debate them to come out with what's the truth. Dr. John Hendrik Clark read everything till he was damn blind. That's why you couldn't challenge him. He was already thorough in knowing the lies. So when he said something was truth, he already weighed and balanced it out with logic. And logic, wisdom, and understanding is something a monkey and a dog ain't got. That's common sense. But today we live in a time where sense is not common or as common as it was. It's common nonsense because it's threaded through the things that we're all attached to. And unfortunately, social media spreads a lot of common nonsense. So it spreads nonsense, and we all have that commonality attached to the same gadgets. We don't challenge the information enough in the gadgets. So when I made Don't Believe the Hype in 1988, it didn't say don't believe everything. It means challenge the information that's coming at you. Challenge it. Yeah. And the challenge information means that you got to absorb some of the nonsense, as well as you absorb some of the things that you see as truth. And only then, with a combination of going at it, and it's hard to do individually by yourself too. This is what makes a community. Things you ain't good at, somebody else is good at. Y'all communicate, boom, I'm good at that because you was great at that, and I'm good at that, and we feed off each other. Once you destroy a community and communication, then you got people fending for themselves. So now you have a situation where people are isolated, forcibly. And what came out of that isolated situation, forcibly, was another name added to the list. So if it's Breonna Taylor coming after George Floyd, young energy and younger adults and young people said, F that. How many pages y'all gonna keep turning? Old heads be like turning the page. Oh, here go another one that's dead. Okay. And once another page turn, young people say, yo, you telling me to stay in the crib. And at the
Right.
same time, more names added to the damn list. We done with that. And young people marched on their locale. You
Yeah.
couldn't stop that energy. They marched on the locale and they said, look, we're going to take down even symbols. And to show a glaring thought right now, Tia, not to get long-winded, the situation showed its face, right? The authority showed its face at the highest realm in office when they said they're going to pass out 10-year bids if you take down a statue.
Yeah.
45 said that.
Sure
And the
did.
reason why this is such a critical point, 20 some odd days going into November 3rd election, is because this is gun to your head government and fascism that's impending.
Mhm.
This ain't like Democrats, Republicans. This ain't no time for micro differences. This is if you're able to recognize, if you study the history in the world. I've been in 116 countries. This is gun to the head government. This is fascism.
Mhm.
And fascism, you know, might come in shiny little toys and pretty faces, but it's got the same smell to it. You got to recognize it, or at least the old head will recognize it. So really, it's down to this. It's the side that you're on versus the side that hates you. And the
Mhm.
reason why it's the side that hates you, because they say you don't matter. Your lives don't matter, or they don't matter as much. So how is that not hatred? And you got to
Right.
be a fool to be up there. Yeah, but by the way, the Skull and Bones and Biden and Kamala Harris, it's like, yo, you not understanding. The other side is gun to the head government. And I've been to countries that basically said, yeah, you do that in this country right now, we're going to ship your head back to the United States. No talking to the audience, do your songs and get up out of here. We're doing a
Yeah.
festival for the people. Then get it going wherever you got to go. Where am I going to the United States to help me? Last time we had that in the United States was Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson went to get that brother Goodman. How long ago was that? That was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
Black person get in any situation anywhere else in the world, United States ain't gonna come get your tail. Face that. So, but you got to be able to deal in the land that you live, and fighting the power comes in a whole bunch of different ways. You're not fighting for just yourself. You fighting for those that can't fight. And a lot of those can't fight mentally because they don't understand the enemy that's right in front of them. It comes in many sizes, shades of complexions, vapors, and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's why steady movement. Change the law as you go at the law. But you got to follow the law in the country you in because there's war ramifications with that too. And like I said, I've been to countries who have real war. Not talking like, yo, I'm in the streets, it's war, son. No, you don't know war. War around the world, Tia, is not like we had some issue in the streets. Then I went to the crib, ducked behind a bed, had a grilled cheese sandwich and called my girl. It's not war. It's warlike in your mind. War in other parts of the world means everything's at war. You got to like kind of sneak in a defecation of your bowels. I got to do a bowel movement, but everything's at war, even whatever I'm doing it on. So you knowledge, wisdom, and understanding helps you as a GPS in every situation. And in this situation right now, young energy led the movement as it always will. Older energy should understand if you can't lead by counseling and advice and know when to sit down, then you shouldn't be in the way.
Yeah. I completely agree. And let me tell you how you are just spitting, because you said you dropped so many gems just in that segment alone. I mean, just talking about the fascism. And I mean, just the other day, our president said no stimulus checks until after we
You know, you got people out there saying, yo, man, Obama ain't look out for me. I got this stimulus check. I mean, but you can't begin to get in the debate with your people. It's got to be like, I'm gonna show you love because you absent on so many of the things that you hashtag facts because you think it's a fact because you saw a hashtag behind it or put an S at the end of it. that you know, we have to help with our love, and those that know, try to help move it along. Those that don't know, you help move them along.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get some of them taking shots at you anyway. But at the same time, those are shots of love and misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know what shots at you. Shots at you is shots at your whole group of folks at the same time. And I'm telling you, I've been around 6 decades. I reached my 6th decade, and I ain't never seen nothing like this in my life, where it's on the doors of impending fascism, of people basically saying, F y'all. You already see it if you want to pay attention. Just look at that wall dividing the United States and Mexico.
Yeah.
And look how quick they can flip the narrative to try to like position like, yeah, but based on the amount of Latinos that's voting for Trump, that means they say F y'all black folk. They say F us. And then once again, they throw micro differences in the pots and get everybody swirling.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody swirling.
Mm-hmm.
But there ain't no time for micro differences to the third. And what does a vote do? I tell people quite simply in black talk, I said, voting is as important as washing your ass in the morning. I could get away with ass on Pacifica.
Yeah, you can do that.
Washing your ass. Now, you don't have to wash. You don't have to use deodorant or none of that. You can go straight, straight jungle. But you can't go around saying something stink.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't have to wash. You don't have to vote. But you can't go around saying something stink then.
And that's powerful.
Very simple. You got to keep it simple with folk.
Yeah. I think that's the key. That's what a lot of people miss.
Well, that's
it's
what
just the simplicity of it.
Well, that's what songs do. Songs actually they're not talking to you for 15 minutes. They give you a song in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And even in a fast forward to 2020, 3 minutes too long.
Right. Most songs now are like 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
I believe in the 45-second song.
If you want them to listen to it all the way through.
Hey, Tia, I'm telling you, you ever go, well, remember back in the day? Way back in the day when we were at the movie theaters? But I'm just saying, like back in the day we go to movie theaters, right? Didn't you see that? Wasn't the trailers better than some of the movies?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you.
Much more.
Like, yo, man, I seen it. I know what it is. Boom, boom, next.
I
just sit up there and watch trailers all damn day.
Snippets are great.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Back in the day when they did snippets. Today, snippets are full songs. That's what we do on my record label, Spit Slam Record Group. We call them vid dashes. The whole album, we tell artists, you can make 5 little snippets of your video pieces, put it all in 4 minutes, boom, end of story. We to break a little piece off, we call them vid dash, like the 60-meter dash, boom, here's a vid dash that shows this song. Yeah, the song is 4 minutes, but the vid dash is 35 seconds. That's all we need to see on it.
That's actually genius. That gets the listeners, I'm sure. I love that.
You know what it is? It's like when you go to the mall and they got that little chicken on a toothpick.
On point. On point, because everybody stops for that.
You got some friends that basically they gonna go around in those areas and just stay and be like, I got lunch.
Oh yeah, fool. No, nobody pass up the tray.
Nah, that's what I'm saying.
That's awesome. I'm loving that. And you brought up so many good points. I also believe we're more in a fight of good versus evil than we are, and then anything else, right? And so it's really important, the information that we're passing along to our foot soldiers and making sure that they understand, what this is, what we're in. And, speaking
it's
of
kind of like this, Tia. Mm-hmm. It ain't good versus evil because good is subjective. It's live versus evil. Turn evil around. What's that? Live?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Live versus evil.
Ooh.
I mean, evil's another thing. That's another energy that, comes. We can't know where it comes from. We even know evil when it pops up in the ones that we love. We like, I'm gonna stay away from you. You keep that. That's why I made me, write State of the Union. Every time I saw SOTU and I saw you know who, in my mind it was STFU. And then shut the up and stay away from me. Stay away from me is the key line. It's like, because you ain't gonna stop a lot of things, but you can stay away from it and tell it to stay away from you. But when it comes down to government, you got to operate within the law. And you
Yeah.
got to do your best to dismember the law and dismantle the law.
Mm.
That's in my personal opinion.
Well,
People
you
that might
talked.
feel more radical, it's like, the question, I don't mean to get long-winded, but the question is, would somebody want to radical out? Said, yo, man, you run the radical out, and then on Tuesday, when you radical out, you got 5 kids. Who's going to feed them?
Mm. And they know that.
Back in the day, you used to have people that cover up. Oh, man, my man caught it, so that I got his back. We don't have enough of a collectiveness understanding for that to be the parachute on us. Like, my man caught it, so therefore I'm a father of his kids.
Yeah.
We got enough just with that schism that got broken up in the 70s, 80s as is.
Yeah.
So we got to reintroduce ourselves to ourselves and in those positions, wherever position that it might end up being, whatever it is. I believe that 60% of any leadership for the rest of this decade and forward, if it's 60% ain't women, it ain't gonna work.
I agree. We need those
Testosterone has
emotions.
corrupted the planet.
Yeah.
Testosterone has corrupted the planet. When last time you seen two women actually start a war?
You haven't. You haven't.
Now, people come along with, well, the reason the war started was because of them, and these two, it's like, I don't know. They talk. Remember, Dave Chappelle, Rick James said cocaine is a crazy drug.
So it might be because of a woman.
No.
But
testosterone
yeah.
is a crazy unknown chemical. We still ain't figured out yet.
Yeah.
Testosterone.
That ego.
That ego, I think ego goes inside of testosterone. Put that G wherever you want to put it.
I know.
Man, what?
Straight up. I mean, it is a lot of the issue. It comes
I think
from
women
that.
have to be in the authority, planning, design, formatting of 60% of whatever it is the next 10 years at least.
Yeah. I like that. I hope somebody hears you on that. Because I agree.
It's just what it is. It's just what it is. I mean, even if I didn't believe it, everything else, the data in the
you'd have to respect it.
The data and the research leading all the way up to this point is contrary to, it's ridiculous what has happened in the societies.
Yeah, it's like a big boy fight a lot of times. It's like that. A boys club. So let's talk about, your impact with the song Fight the Power. I mean, that was so impactful for the community. And I remember hearing Fight the Power on the radio. I was a big radio head even as a little girl. And I can remember the energy of the lyrics coming through my speakers. And I remember hearing it on the movie Do the Right Thing and feeling like I wanted to be there and be wrapped in my African garb and feeling hope. And it just broadened my mind. And, it was such a powerful song. But the reality of it is not a lot has changed since Fight the Power came out over 30 years ago. And I know we know that, a lot of that is because hip hop sounds differently. It actually switched from a force of social change to more of a promotion of all the worst things. Do you think that the hip hop leaders of today could flip that perspective? Could they contribute more successfully to the justice movement? What needs to change?
I think the biggest change for 1989 and 2020 is just the people. People have come in and people have left. People born and people have died. This is why you have to go at systemic ills. Racism, sexism, fascism, all those isms. And that's why, only old heads could say, damn, it seems like we keep going at this. We've been there before. We did this before. Yeah, because you old.
Right.
But somebody 25 years old ain't been through there. We made Fight the Power in 1989. And it doesn't become the record that it becomes because Spike Lee uses it in film and threads it throughout his whole film. That's what made it powerful. I mean, who does that? The whole movie, the whole damn movie, Spike is playing Fight the Power as the theme, the anthem that spoke truth to power. Spike, as far as reality was concerned, this was the unrest that was going on in New York City at the time. Most especially Brooklyn, a schism between neighborhoods. David Dinkins becomes New York's first black mayor. Communities that got their act together trying to get their thing in front and try and disregard the promises that David Dinkins made to the other quote unquote weaker communities that needed strength. There was nothing but battles going on in the New York City area. Spike Lee spoke to that and Do the Right Thing. Fight the Power spoke to that. All those issues that pop up around the country and places in the world now. It's like, you know, the police brutality issue, the one-sided government, you know, the favoritism, and also the disrespect on another as a cluster, you know, the difference between renting and also owning, all that stuff, all in a compressed city area with George Bush as the president. So you ain't getting nothing from the national level, and then you got the Gestapo all running through the ranks of authority at that time.
Yeah.
Fight the Power was the second Fight the Power. Because the first Fight the Power came from a group basically born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they moved to Teaneck, New Jersey as a recording group, and very influential to me as a teenager because they did Fight the Power in 1974. It's the Isley Brothers. Now, the Isley Brothers, to many people who are younger, is like, oh, there we go, Between the Sheets and, you know, Midnight Oasis and all those, you know, it's like, yeah. But
like
the Fight the Power, but the Isley Brothers, Fight the Power struck me as well as Work to Do and It's Your Thing and all that other stuff. So the Isley Brothers have recorded for 50 some odd years, but they made Fight the Power, and that hit me. 14 years later, we said Fight the Power to Spike Lee's film. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
2020, right? What comes out? Young people march to the streets, younger energy. I expected that a young artist or young artiste would actually be the thematic situation for what was happening. But a lot of young artists, also younger artists, I should say, they were paralyzed by the moment, not kind of knowing what step to take because they was already in the flow of delivering their art, and every artist has a right to deliver their art the way they see fit. They already know that they're not going to make the number one social statement. Why do you think they couldn't make the number one social statement, Tia?
I mean, there's no
a song and music is not going to make the social statement that it made in the 80s. Why? No. Because social media and gadgets beat everything to it. When a person has an opinion, for better or worse, they go immediately to something that's attached to the World Wide Web. Nothing's beating that. Only thing a song could do is reflect or run along the side, just like somebody would run along the side with a kid on training wheels. Run the side, embrace the moment. So artists felt a little paralyzed, like, wow, how should I come out? I can't get people like, you know, to get drunk on this new liquor. So I want to say something because everything around me, then the moment is frozen. What should I do? So BET with Jesse Collins, and I know I've had fights with them throughout the years, but not Jesse. Jesse's good people. Thought it was a great idea. Him and Questlove put it together, of the world famous Roots, making history every night on Jimmy Fallon, said, listen, we understand, but this is the moment right now that speaks truth to power, fight the power. We're going to have these other voices on it, and it's going to be different, Chuck. I would have to be a stupid, old curmudgeon to be like, no, I just, no. When it's the right energy at the right time, you go with it. And what it did is Fight the Power 2020 broke the ice and set a path. Now every artist is dropping at least something. And back in the 80s and the early 90s, we used to, you know, what happened, the same thing happened when artists went from making singles to having to deliver albums. All of a sudden, cats are going from making one song, now they got to deliver 12. So we always used to just advise, like, all right, you know, you do the whoop whoop, who riding on 9 cuts, and for your 10th cut, always drop one for the hood. And that's why Too Short made one of the greatest conscious records ever when he made The Ghetto in 1990. And that's Too Short, meaning that every artist can speak some truth to power. They just got to know that there's a path. And Fight the Power 2020 made a path and had dignitaries such as Black Thought, Nas, and Rhapsody You know,
Yes.
the Rhapsody roasted it, Jahi, YG. Everybody's bugging out like, oh man, I never thought YG. Yo, man, damn, he brought flames
Brought
on
it.
that. I said, you know what? The opportunity was there, you know, and the opportunity was there for him to feel like he could be himself and not be scrutinized or ostracized. It
Yeah.
wasn't that fight the power had to be the theme or the moment. It broke the ice for the theme, so it did its job, and that power is beyond me. That's why we say give thanks, because
Hmm.
it's not because of it's because of us, not because of me or just us. So you understand that culture brings us together for our similarities and knocks the difference to the side. That's the different thing from governments. Governments like to split people up, characterize, divide, like I told you earlier. So
Hmm.
that's Fight the Powers meaning in 2020. And hopefully it can extend to November 3rd, and then it can dissipate. Although I do feel that voting means what? Voting means you vote. Number one, in this case, the United States, you vote to get fascism out. But
Yeah.
that means you gotta be double woke after the third. Double woke, double, maybe triple woke, and then you could probably be double woke for 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. And those 4 years are important to not just look at local government as just something like that's going to take care of you automatically. I tell people, don't be beaches. You know what a beach is, right? A beach is something that just sits there and waits for waves to wave up upon its shore. And it
Yeah.
erodes the beach eventually.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? You
That
gotta
is
be
true.
active. You gotta
Yeah.
be active with what's coming at you. And you voted for something. How active are you going to be with Vice President Harris if she's in there? Oh
Right.
yeah, she looked cute today. Oh yeah, blah blah blah. I like the way she talks. She got a top 10 rap list. I felt that personally. I felt personally when I voted for President Obama. I had one of these.
Mm.
I knew with President Obama I could buy time. I didn't look at President Obama as being our Jesus in the United States of America presidential seat. Nah, I bought time, and then we got 4 more years of this. Hopefully, if you're 23 years old, you would know that local politics and government is something that behooves you, because a lot of 22-year-olds got kids. And you got a 3-year-old C looking, or maybe 4 or 5-year-old looking and staring at you and said, you know what? I'm a furnace. I need food. I need to eat. And I'm looking at you, old dude. Like, what's up? So if you know that much, or you in the middle of that mix, your environment around you is just as adult as that dirty 20, 30, 30 party or whatever. So I'm just saying is that it's imperative, it's mandatory that when you pull your truck out, right? And I'm talking Louisville talk. You pull your truck out of the driveway, you hit a pothole, right? Messes up those springs, your shocks in the back. Where you gonna go to first? You gonna go to your town and county with a beef, or you gonna go to Chris Paul's State Farm commercial?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Who's the real connection?
You go to the county and the town. Yeah, you go to Chris Paul if you can afford State Farm. Their high ass prices. But anyway, you go to the insurance company, but you go to the town like, yo, y'all gotta fix this pothole. Somebody gotta do it. Nah, that ain't got to me. I don't own the spot. I'm just renting, man. So I'm just here until I'm not here. We could no longer afford to have that attitude. And you know what? I'm an old head, so I know I can't afford to have that at all. But we got to do our best to try to trickle some adulthood into young adults 18 and over, that they are the leadership. They are the world. They are the future. They are right now. You got a country that wants them to be irrelevant till they 50 years old. They buy their first crib when they 56 years old. I mean, And you know how the gangsterism is with the banks and all that stuff. We have to challenge it though. We can't sit there, because if we decide to just lay there, what is that November 3rd vote going to do? It might prevent fascism, but then fascism still seeps its way up in there through all kinds of nooks and crannies anyway. So that's what we have to just be aware and watch out for. And to quote unquote white America, what they don't understand, racism is like carbon monoxide. Because they can't see or smell all of it. So they might have to carry a carbon monoxide racism meter on them, or have somebody who knows, who's a good friend or a cohort, or use social media in the right way, even if they physically don't know somebody of color, use it in the right way. Because, you know, these things could be a toy or a tool. And I'm talking about these things, toy or tool. The reason why it's a tool to me, because I didn't grow up with it. I didn't grow up under it. I waited for it to be as dope as it is, to actually come along and help me and be an asset to what I already am. If the grid goes down, I kind of knew what life was without it. But you got people who have grown up under these gadgets the last 20 years, and they don't know what life is without it. Meaning what? You can't disrespect them, because if you had it when you was 1 or 2 years old, what else is it going to be but a damn toy? The problem for the next 10 years, or next 2 or 3 years even, is being able to have adults that are able to use this as a tool more than a toy. And that's going to be a hard weaning process. That's the hardest weaning process probably in the next 5 years, period. Because we've gone inadvertently or by default from citizens into netizens. You hear me, Tia? Netizens. Netizens mean what? They're not citizens. As a matter of fact, citizens is what we were 100% of the time, and all the training and the learning and all is how to exist in a citizen world, especially in the United States of America. A netizen world is pretty much worldwide. They couldn't buy up, or they couldn't soak up all the planet's acreage. You can't build on water, not really. They can a little bit, right? But they already bought every part of the world up. So what the powers that be, what would behoove the future? Build another world. We can't get to Mars and Venus and build. Where's that world? That world is within, inside everybody. The people are the product. And you live inside that world, all the way to the point that you can do something in the netizen world, cyberspace, right? And pay a citizen's price for it. You go to jail for doing something online, and go to jail for a longer term than probably knocking somebody in the head on the outside world. That world exists. That world is real. And that world ain't going nowhere. So we have to be able to make people more net literate, because there's net illiteracy. They can't tell what's fact or fiction, what's information or misinformation from anywhere. It's coming from all kinds of tangents at crazy speeds that young people can handle, but they can't disseminate what's real, what's fake. Right? Yeah. And even older people fall victim to that.
Heck, some older people don't even click the links on the headlines on news articles. They just go right to commenting.
Right. Headline society. And that's what that world is governed on and powered by. And then you will have what? Net etiquette. So, you know what etiquette is in real life, but nobody got no net etiquette in the netizens. It hasn't been taught. So that changes what schooling is going to have to be for the next 10 years.
True.
If that's where that world is at, and some people are going to have the ability to go into that world, back into the real world, but you're going to be dealing with people who ain't going to be as flexible. They can't go into both worlds. They might be stuck in that world, can't come back out. It's like being stuck on ayahuasca, man. You can't come out of it. So I'm just saying that this is reality, and everything passes through it. And culture is a good way to get on a surfboard of culture and ride and make some sense to people, short bursts. This is what it is. This is what it ain't. But this is something that's even to the point that the president has proposed fascism in a three-card monte game of trickery that's already got him a presidential seat on hustling most of middle America. That, you know, this dude is a shyster, celebrity, half-baked celebrity, business shark mishap. You know, I've been seeing this dude since 1976.
Yeah, I
But
bet you have. He
once
loves
again,
New
what?
York.
Once again, he's from New York. But once again, I'm an old head. I don't matter. I don't matter in this, Tia. What matters is somebody 25, 30, 20. What makes that young dude, right, in Charlottesville, Virginia, right, that fresh face, opie, you know, white kid run over that woman and feel like, you know, he had racism popping and flying out of him, doing something that somebody would do in 1917 or 1919 during the Red Riots, you know?
Yeah.
Just envy, jealousy. Where did that envy come from? The envy and the jealousy had to come from what? Somewhere that he visited in his own mind, planted in the cyber world, that he came out swollen and did something physically to somebody in their real life. This is the hype and hysteria and this dystopia that's going on right now when they talk about all these factions swelling up and coming out of nowhere. And they not 80 years old. They ain't 55, 70 years old in many cases. They in their 20s and 30s. Where's that attitude and evil coming from? They swelling themselves up in their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And then we know we see a lot of it even in our community, swelling it up in your own thoughts, telling you about the world. But ain't been nowhere in the world.
That's so
I would
true.
say this to you, and not to get long-winded, for people of color, especially black people, I'm just keep it black for a second. Can I keep it black with you for a second?
Please do. Please do. We're both in black.
This is real black. We detach ourselves from Africa, regardless of what we think about it or even know about it. You forever chained to the box, a hot box of the United States, lower 48 states of America. You will forever be slave. You only going to be doing so much change inside the box. Meaning what? Philosophically, mentally, historically, just in ways how to work things out. I mean, just the way that Africa or African nations, as much backwards as somebody wants to say who ain't never been there, how they work their way through maybe planted or totally devastating diseases, atrocities, wars, factions, and everything else, and how they work through it. Down to the MCs out there, which I think the greatest MCs in the world are from Africa. And here's another thing, Tia. Around the world, and we do a show on our Andy Don't Stop show. It's also on rap station called Planet Earth, Planet Rap. And they play rap music and hip hop and curate it from across the world. 33% of all the hip hop around the world has women involved in it, from producers to MCs, MC groups, collaborators, station, operators. Women are 33% of every game in hip hop, spitting fire. They not excluded. Nobody's waiting for and no offense, but it's like okay, it's before it used to be Foxy and Little Kim only, and that's in that little box, and then we got the box that came along with Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. That's that box of popular, and now it's Meg Thee Stallion got shot in the foot and all, and it's all that becomes news and all that, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And women really in hip hop are always been at least 20 to 25%. It just haven't been presented. We have an all woman station called She Movement Radio, 24 hours a day, women in hip hop. So rap station's doing this thing, and we're represented, thankfully, and highly represented. And Ursula saw the truth and power in this, because we curate the art form. We don't let anybody else run away with their definition of what this is. It is what it is, and let it speak for itself. So Planet Earth, Planet Rap curates hip hop around the world, and around the world has been speaking directly in front of their face, truth to power forever. And we bring that to the forefront as best that we could make it. And we're thankful that in the And You Don't Stop radio show, it's a consolidation of all these efforts that we do automatically on Rap Station.
And, you know, I love that. And first of all, I just want to say congratulations on your latest project that you just put out. I'm excited about it. It is definitely the new anthem for 2020, Fight the Power remix.
Yeah, I got one of these. You know, I went to the pressing plant yesterday and it got the double gatefold, and
What?
you know, it's like, well, you got to do it for the record heads, and like I
Do it
said,
for the culture.
you know,
Yes.
I've been to 116 countries, and I usually have to deal with about 60 to 70 countries, and when a record comes out, Public Enemy, and the United States is just one of them. So it could be tiring. I have 121 interviews in 70 days.
Ooh, child, you working hard, honey. But
Yeah,
you know, I was really excited when I seen Rhapsody on
yeah.
your and on the collabs for this. Like, you talk about
Yeah.
embracing women. She's one who is a beast that you don't hear on mainstream, but she's cold and she should be more out there. What do you think is keeping her from being more out there?
She's doing what she's supposed to do. We've been supporting Rhapsody for the last decade. Her and Ninth Wonder have their team in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem why you might not hear people that you think you're supposed to be here, because all the way up to this point, 2020, things are changing. We were only measured by numbers, analytics, and metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't throw analytics and metrics and numbers at our existence. And we're reduced to numbers. You know, I went to Def Jam with the whole Bob Dylan approach when they came to me. And I answered them with one question. And the thing is, Def Jam was a good settlement between me and Flavor. Mm-hmm. I like to do it independently. Flavor wanted to do it with a major. Def Jam happened to be the answer. Cool. But the question to Def Jam was like, at what point do we render importance great or not greater than popularity? Mm. At what point do we measure quality great or if not greater than quantity? Mm. The great Craig Hodges, my homeboy, Chicago Bulls, 3-time world champion, 4-time world champion because he got one with the Lakers with Phil Jackson, said he has a question that rings inside of me real hard. He says, at what point do we consider ourselves mature? Or I said, at what point do we become mature? Mm. I think that's a question everybody got to answer when they looking in the God mirror. Everybody faced the God mirror. They don't care. My dad was clear when he faced the God mirror in 2016 in transition. Before that, he used to always say, I don't care who you are, who you know, who you with, what you got, who got, or whatever. Everybody gonna go to that same place. They're gonna look at the God mirror.
Mm. That's so true. That is so true.
Wow.
You have been so powerful, and I don't want to be selfish and take all of you. I know we had some folks that had some questions.
Yeah,
in the chat.
I mean, I missed my FedEx shipping, but I might as well just keep. I mean, yeah, and I'm letting everybody know they don't have no special Chuck D rates either.
Oh, dang. So you just, yeah.
So you just Chuck D, they're going to definitely hold up for you. Nah, they're not doing that.
That is a shame. Tell them get it back there because that's important. You know what? While I'm waiting on...
Don't even ask nobody a question that you know the answer.
Right. That's a fact. Okay. Well, I'm waiting on these questions to come through to me. I would like to do something real fast, just on behalf of...
Well, could I do an ad? I'm on the Pacifica network. Matter of fact, I got to finish cutting my And You Don't Stop radio show for tonight's Blastcast. It's across the Pacifica networks. I think we picked up a couple of affiliates. I have to ask Ursula on that. But it's the epicenter of hip hop and rap music, 120-minute epicenter. It's also heard on rapstation.com. Y'all could get the Rap Station app at rapstation.com /app. And that's where you could get it. And hey, we even look to get one of Tia Marie's shows on Rap Station. It's nothing like it.
Always there.
And it's surely is the wonder of the world. So rapstation.com /app. And also the And You Don't Stop radio show, which is on Pacifica affiliates tonight. And we hope to be on a lot more of them in the future.
Yeah, I love it. I think I saw at WBAI.org, you'll be on at 1 a.m. Eastern time tonight. So,
Yeah, they switch us around. They switch
yeah.
us around on BAI. That's where we started it all out. But like I said, I
Good.
ran into Ursula, and then we had KHOI over there in Iowa, and then we have a lot of them passing our show around. We say, pass the show around, take it, do what you gotta do. You know, we bring the noise.
I love that. And you don't stop. You are
And you
so
don't stop.
dynamic. I love it. Well, I want to present you with an award real quick because we got some love for you here in Louisville, Kentucky. And let me tell
Oh
you how
man,
you're going
I'm
to
not I'm not
be.
good at getting awards. I'm bad for
Ah,
awards.
don't cry, don't cry. This is for you. This is the Art FM Radio Pioneer Award. And basically, we started it in
Oh
2016,
wow.
and it recognizes individuals who transcend traditional ideas for radio to create new possibilities in broadcasting. The award presented this year is for you, and we're happy to pass this along to you. So now, right now, you're
Oh
looking at
wow.
it over, the computer, but we're going to
Yes,
make
ma'am.
sure that it gets to you. So don't miss this shipment.
No, I won't
It's
miss the
fragile.
shipment. I thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody else, I mean, like the album, the Public Enemy album, the reason I can't just bypass it and say it's because the contributors to it,
Yeah.
the contribute, big up to C-Doc, put his heart and soul in to produce it, brought all the production to the table, his sequencing. And also a big up to all the young people who are over at Def Jam's working the record. So I would be totally ungrateful to be like not talking about the record, but I'm not good at things coming directly at me. But I'm like saying that we're connected to contributions and the workings of and they're the champions.
Love it. The album is available on all platforms. I found it on Spotify today.
Okay.
And I need an edited version of Fight the Power 2020 so I can play it because it's FCC and stuff. So
Yep. Well, I know because I as I've been spanked a couple of times playing somebody's music and we didn't edit it out. Big up to my man Flatline, Bad Warnick, that made it happen. We've been going since 2009, and we don't let many errors. And we play rap music from 2 hours, so sometimes it might be something that slips through there on that first
yeah,
hour, and that's not cool.
I know. Trust me, I'm the resident person that's always in trouble at the station because
It's
I'm
funny,
trying to, I'm still 8 years later, still trying to make sure that I don't slip up. It's
but
hard.
what's funny to you? Put on another rap record from another country, and they could curse right throughout, and
Wow.
nobody notice it, which shows you that language is the great divider of peace and people.
It's powerful. The tongue is powerful.
Yeah.
That's
So
facts.
but if you know, that's my biggest regret in my life too, not knowing
What's
more
that?
than one language.
I hear you on that. I'll be all up on Duolingo trying to learn Spanish, and I'm so
Tough.
far, but it's different when you're using the app versus learning from a real person.
Yeah.
You
And
got
the
to
thing
get in
about it,
there.
I go around the world for like 33 years. So many different countries. This is why I show you that the etiquette is important. You ever see somebody that's speaking Spanish and they're working, and at the same time they talk and then they apologize. My English is not so good, but they know 2 languages.
Yeah.
Instead of the average American or USAR, I call them USAers, right?
Okay.
You should apologize for not knowing 2 languages.
Right.
So they come in more than halfway. They at least know a body of words that they come in more than halfway. Here, most people from the USA are like, man, I ain't trying to learn nothing else, and you got to talk to me. And then people in the United States start saying things like, well, they must be stupid because they don't understand what I'm talking about. They don't speak your language, dog.
Right.
So there's a lot of reattaching that the United States got to do with the rest of the world. Just common courtesy and etiquette.
Agreed.
By the president calling it the China, what do you call it, the China virus?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man, really?
Yeah,
and
it came from an American building, though.
And then they jumping up in there, and they're like, yeah, man, the China virus, man, and then they got lots of stuff. And I said, you've been to China before? No, I ain't been there. I said, where you been? I ain't been nowhere, but you talking about every place like you been there. That's the
It's
arrogance of the United States. And look, I'll tell you
true.
how people feel about the arrogance, right? I'm from New York, right? You know how New Yorkers are, right? You in Louisville, right?
That's
You
right.
know, New
Yeah.
Yorkers, wherever they go, anywhere in the country, they be like having that New York on them, right? Looking down on everybody else as country.
Yeah, it's true.
And they be coming up there like, I'm from New York, so I don't know what y'all be doing down here. That's how the rest of the world feels about people from the United States.
Wow. But you know what? You make a valid point because I watched 90 Day Fiance and there's a family on there that went over to Moldova. And the whole time they were there was everything was about we're Americans and America this and America that. And it was so annoying. And as a fellow American, I thought to myself, like, that is just I would not receive that person at
So
all.
you know
Please
what
don't try to represent all Americans
so
like
you know
that.
what the #1 TV show on the planet is right now?
What is it?
This romper room that's going on all the way to the elections in this country right now. Everybody got a box of popcorn looking like this.
Right.
Y'all figure this one out.
Oh my God.
Especially the clown show from the other night. Like
Oh my
I
God.
draw, I'm an illustrator, so this was
Oh, well, look at that.
yeah,
A man of
yeah,
many talents.
yeah. And it's like this was the debate before the one the other night.
I would wore my whole soul out. I couldn't take it. And,
I,
you know, I got my opinions about that. I think that he's feigning ill because we can't have a repeat of that. We just can't.
yeah, let us not,
I know.
let us
All
not
right.
don't go down that rabbit hole
I
because we've
know.
been talking for years, and I got to get this package
I
to
know, right? We
UPS or FedEx.
we do not want you to lose your package. Okay, let me get about 2 questions from the audience.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see. One, somebody wants to know what's the most important book on those shelves behind you that you've read. You care to share?
Death of Rhythm and Blues by Nelson George, my favorite author. But all this stuff, let me get this. Hold on. I bought this book at least 7 times.
Wow.
This is one of 6 libraries I have. It ain't for decoration. That's
I
my
know that's
favorite author,
right.
Nelson George. Death of Rhythm and Blues. But they're all important because they're all reference. And here's the thing about me is like I pick the books they're all music and music history. I consider myself music history. There's social politics in there, but there's some sports in there too. But I'm also from the art world too. But most of us read books that we like to read. Scholars have to read the books that they don't want to read.
It's
That's the
true.
difference. That's why you can't call yourself a scholar. It's because you read a lot of books. You read what you want to read.
You're an enthusiast.
Enthusiasts, right?
Right.
Scholar gotta read 70% what they don't want to read.
Facts.
That's the difference. That's why we don't make light and fun of scholarship.
Yeah.
You know, if you somebody like, I read only what I want to read, then you now you getting dogmatic.
Yeah.
Dog. Getting dogmatic, dog.
Facts. All right. So I got another person that said
What's
they
their
love.
name? Tell me where they from.
I know, right? And matter of fact, that was Ethan AD that asked about the books on your shelf. Shout out to Ethan for that question.
Yeah, it's not
Ursula.
wallpaper.
Right. It's not a virtual background, y'all.
Nah.
Ursula would like to know what kind of encouragement you have for the movement in Louisville. And, you know, I came across an article that you did with the New York Post where you spoke about Breonna Taylor and George Floyd being a teachable moment. So can you talk a little bit about that and give us some encouragement here in Louisville?
It was a reachable moment because unfortunately that happened, and you take a reachable moment when it's reaching so many people with the same emotion, and you got to use that avenue to teach something. And
That's right.
the only thing you could tell people in Louisville, Kentucky, the area between Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, which is a region that a lot of people kind of think they know, but they really don't.
Yeah, it's
Pennsylvania.
got some deep history.
Yeah, it stay collective and continue to teach in your movement, you know. Numbers are real, and a lot of times people count the numbers on the coastlines and in urban cities. but there's a whole lot of people in the United States of America that their numbers is up. Their numbers is just crazy. Like what they every year, don't you bug out when or every 4 years, as much as we, as many people that was pulling for President Obama, it took all of us in our strength and be like, yeah, well, President Obama looks like he has 50% of the vote and the other guy has 49. It was like,
right. It was crazy.
damn, man, all we could muster. And I expect the same thing to come around this, and it's a train wreck. And like I thought that in 2016, I thought that, and I'm neither party holder, but I have to always go like what makes the most sense to where I want to operate, where I want to go, people around me, what they feeling. I have a conversation with my mom and my oldest daughter at 32. And, we're going to talk about this, but Democrats were really arrogant last time around. They were not only just arrogant, they were lazy.
Mm.
And it was the same thing Biden was talking about. If you black, you got to vote for me. Like, not really, dog. So
yeah, that was a very lazy thought.
Yeah. You took a constituency, and we are a constituency in the United States of America. We're not 50% of the population here. We ain't even 25% of the population here. It seemed like it when you watch TV and commercials and stuff like that, but we're not. Our numbers ain't like what you think these numbers are.
Mm.
So, I mean, you see it on TV. Don't believe the TV so much that where you start thinking those numbers ain't nothing. So it's about convincing those numbers. I mean, you in Louisville.
Yeah.
Got black areas in Louisville, but really kind of, Northern Kentucky is kind of Northern Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
And in the middle of Kentucky, and then you go out further west in Paducah and all that, man. You go to areas like in parts of the United States, you could drive 5 hours and not see nobody black.
Right. For real. I mean, the Mason-Dixon line ran through here.
But that's what I'm saying. I told somebody about Land O'Lakes. They know. I mean, the average person, like, what, huh? Land O'Lakes? What the hell? I said, yeah, bro. There's parts in this country, man, that you don't even know exist, that you won't know.
Because they're under a lake.
I'm trying to tell you. So
Old civilizations.
I'm trying to tell you. So to everybody in Louisville, just be collective, be smart, be connected too. Like I said, being connected to the movement in the country, but also be connected in mind to how other places, like the African continent, figures it out, although they're the refrigerator of the world. And I say that is because so many people have gone to Africa, opened the door, dragged stuff out, left the door open, never went shopping to fill it back up.
Right. Left them high and dry.
You cannot leave Africa philosophically if you think you're going somewhere in the future. Africa is the future of the world. People hate to hear that. And as far as you want to boil it down to culture, hip hop, rap music, Africa is the future of our genre and our music, because it's been the past. And even though we don't think it's been the present because we don't know, it's been that too. Mm. Can't detach yourself from that.
Wow.
Got to be more than an American. Even though you're not going to get that dual passport, you have to have dual passport here. You know what I'm saying? Like, think global, act local.
Yeah, I like it. All right, hey, Ethan. We're gonna go back to Ethan for a quick second. Ethan's he's with it today. He's got some hot ones over here. Now he wants to know, being an unmelanated male DJ, what may be the best way to contribute to the current ETA of social justice through community radio without seemingly being perceived as appropriating Black culture and influence?
Oh, he asking all them big words.
Yeah.
First of all, he said how do you know he unmelanated? He took a melanin
test. Come on now. Didn't Ms. Jane tell us there's such a thing as faded Black people?
I'm trying to tell you. And then everybody that noticed that the seed comes out of somewhere, there's something in the middle of there if you really carve back. Look, do your DJ thing, build with collectives, work with organizations. Don't always try to, think that you got to start an organization sometimes when you could work with and power up an organization with some truthful and justice and understanding. And I just think that you might look at other things as being old organizations. They always need new energy and new blood. That's why I never look at the NAACP and the Urban League as like, man, that worked for another time. They need, every organization needs new blood. Even the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Mr. Farrakhan has always said, look, we need new energy, new leadership.
Yes.
I'm 87 years old. Yo. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, and that's an organization that actually freed up a lot, especially Black males, freed up our minds. Well, regardless of what anybody wants to come up, because, people get all conspiracy theories like, yeah, but what happened back here was it? Yes, so you reading, bro. You ain't talking to nobody. You reading and all of a sudden making your judgment. I hear that, but at the same time, what this organization has done is revitalize a people in the wilderness of North America at its time, in the time where it had to fight the hardest just for the mind. Yes, things change, things evolve and all that, but you got to come back to, knowledge of self and finding yourself, and should be encouraged at that. So if the best uses of the Nation of Islam was in the past, it got us to this point. Doesn't mean they should be abandoned either. Doesn't mean like some of the other organizations that might seem like, or weak either. It's only going to be based on the energy of the spirit within, and that energy, that young energy, seeks the organizations.
Wonderful. So basically, what I got out of that is to lend your energy. We need it. All right. Don't worry about the nuances. Lend your energy.
Lend your energy.
Yeah.
Don't go. If you're an individual, don't think you're going to take the burden of the world on your shoulders and going to make you going to change the world with your individual effort. Collectives make change. Collectives and movement, creates change, and not necessarily in the time frame that you think it's got to happen.
Right.
As I said, waves erode a beach, but not immediately. Usually, as they say, in time. So do the best you can. That's basically saying that. I said, just do the best you can do, man. You know your do's, your don'ts, you can, you can't, your wills, your won'ts, your is, your ain'ts.
Facts. Well, my goodness, you have been such a pleasure to speak with. I wish we had more time. I could just talk to you all night. I love your mind. I thank you for continuing to share that with us. Do you want to let us know one more time where they can find you on social media so they can stay connected to Chuck D?
Yeah, my daughter killed me because she runs my companies. But what I'll answer every once in a while is Twitter at Mr. Chuck D.
Okay.
And then my team and orchestrated by her, they run the Instagram, Mr. Chuck D _PE. And my email is chuckd@channelzero.net. That one.
Get that. Y'all got the email.
And I'm always on Twitter, and then they take my Twitter feeds but my team, my daughter runs the teams, and they do a good job of Instagram and Facebook. I stay off of Facebook because you run into people that you went to school with.
All right. That know the old you and still harping on that. Like, I'm changed.
I stay out of Instagram because sometimes I going into the sandbox. And some people want to carry champagne in the sandbox. I don't understand that one. Sandbox, dog. You need to take your old ass and be on one format at a time.
Hey, for real. I can't keep up trying to be everywhere at all times. Thank God for automation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Tia.
Well, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Let me get on over to this FedEx, get this thing out.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for rocking with us. You have a blessed night. Thank you all so much for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
That concludes our discussion.
Bye-bye. Peace.